All right, so the life of a medieval peasant. Not a life I'd wish on anyone. I suppose in my urban existence, I miss something of their contact with the land, the seasons. I suppose in my rather material existence, I miss something of their spirituality. But the fact remains, their lives were narrow.
What I have is opportunity. The freedom to go where I like, the freedom to make my own choices, to pursue my destiny.
That kind of freedom in medieval England was a rare and precious gift, but it was available to some, not out here in the countryside, but in the towns.
This is Ledbury in Herefordshire. Like most of the market towns of England, its roots go back to Saxon days, and the streets are still laid out according to a 13th century plan. Hardly ideal for modern traffic, but a great place to explore the roots of our urban society.
All right, so how did a place like Ledbury emerge? Well, it all began with a market held here on the land that fronted the Minster Church. Ledbury's on the main thoroughfare between Hereford and Worcester. It seemed an obvious place for the Bishop of Worcester to found a church. And so people would come from miles around, they'd go to church, but then, taking advantage of the presence of all of those people, they started to trade. This became a place where you could sell whatever produce you had left over once your family was fed. This became a place where you could buy the craft goods you needed that you couldn't make yourself, pots and pans and tools and belt buckles, until finally, it was the market, not the church, that was drawing the crowds. And in the year 1138, the bishop applied to the king for a license to hold a regular Sunday market here, and by royal charter, the market town of Ledbury was born.
Now you wind on 150 years from that first royal charter to the late 13th century. What would a visitor to Ledbury have seen? Well, by then, all the plots lining the main crossroads here in Ledbury had been leased by the bishop who owned this land to merchants. We've records of brewers, carpenters, weavers, goldsmiths, saddlers. Each took a frontage onto the street with a tilted plank to show their wares. And in exchange for the right to live and trade here in Ledbury, they paid their landlord, the bishop, not service, but rent, 12 pence a year.
Now, what does it matter that they paid in rent and not service? Well, it meant that the town's men and women were free. Unlike the peasants, bound in service in the countryside, here the townsfolk answered to no one. And here's the thing, should any peasant run away from his master, if he escaped the confines of the manor and made it to the town and hid out here for a year and a day without being caught, by the law of the land, he was declared a free man.
Town air makes free. That's what they used to say. And we're talking about more than physical freedom. We're talking about the freedom to live a life of variety, of opportunity, of promise. Not dependent for your survival on the weather and the harvest, but on your wits.
Here, the primary purpose of life wasn't to grow some metaphorical turnip with all the back-breaking labor that involved. Here, the purpose in life was to make money, with which you could pay some other poor sap to grow turnips. And with any cash left over, you could buy all the luxuries of life, frivolity and entertainment, or what passed for entertainment in those days. And now your coin lined someone else's pocket, and so the merry dance continued.
All across England, towns developed a parallel culture to the world of the countryside. In time, they evolved their own systems of government. Freed from the traditional chain of command, from king to baron to knight to peasant, towns' men and women elected mayors and burghers to represent them. Different trades clubbed together into so-called guilds. The guilds maintained craft standards, and they looked after their own when times got hard. A world within a world. A world of merchants, of shopkeepers, an urban world. And a glimpse of the nation we were yet to become.